Welcome to this episode of YouTube where we're talking about conditioning wolf pups, and one of the first things we have to condition them to is the 4th of July noise, and which is similar to thunderstorms. So when we mean conditioning, what we do is we certainly don't protect them from those noises. We try to expose them to them, and when the first time they hear something like the 4th of July fireworks going off or loud noises, we give them a distraction that gives them a positive experience to deal with that particular item or situation or noise that might cause them a little bit of anxiety. So as you can see here, this was filmed on the night of the 4th of July. That was their first night actually spending a dark period of darkness in the pack holding area. Typically they'd only been there in the daylight, and then they brought into the Wolf Care Center for evenings. But this night I stayed with them and I gave them a watermelon, which they didn't really care for, but they found a lot of grizzers caches and a lot of grizzers bones, and spent a fair amount of time with those, gathering up bones, digging up caches, investigating things. And we do still need to watch them. We still have 24-hour day staff, even though they're now actually allowed to be outside overnight. But we have to watch them for things. They like to investigate, they're teething, they like to chew. So we want to make sure that they're not eating rocks, that they're not chewing on something that's going to cause them some issues. So we keep an eye on them even if we're out there in the dark, and in the mosquitoes. And the mosquitoes been a little bit thick lately. So as far as identifying them, we do have official names of Axel and Grayson. So if we look at their precaudal tail gland, that's the back tail gland, Axel's looks like kind of a lightning strike. It's got a lightning bolt. It's got a little bit of a long tend to it. So that black spot on the base of their tail is a passive scent gland, and Grayson's is just shorter. It's a little black spot, a little bit shorter. Also Grayson, who is got a little bit weepier eyes, just how he's been that way since we met him, basically having probably a little bit more of an immune system response to things in allergens in the air. So we are seeing their guard hairs coming in, so you see that white coloration that is characteristic of Arctic subspecies, but you'll notice that there's dark highlights, and that's going to be something that we're not going to be able to determine until they're probably about 4 or 5 months of age, what that final coloration is going to be. Looks like there's going to probably be a little bit of a brown coloration on the top of the head for grayback, and maybe even a little bit of a black saddle there. They do like to be outside, and that is one of the things that we start seeing a lot more: stalking, predatory behavior, head shaking. The things that we've witnessed already are just being honed by the opportunities given to them by chewing on bones. So we do feed our adult wolves a carcass diet here of roadkill deer, beaver. So the pups are going to have that diet, but not until they're older. So right now they're still getting 4 or 5 times, actually right now, any time that they are awake, we try to feed them. And we are doing a primary bison, kind of a carcass bison, ground up bison meat that was donated to us, and venison, deer legs, some beef. They've got vitamins that they take every day. They've got a probiotic that they take, so we are making sure that we're trying to maximize their nutrition. So they're not on formula anymore. They've matured beyond that. And so when they look at the deer legs, right now they're kind of just things to play with, but eventually, as a matter of fact, August 13th, we have a webinar for their first feeding of the carcass with the adults. They'll still be fed daily small doses of meat, but they'll get to carcass feed with the adults on August 13th. So we have a webinar coming up this Thursday, July 14th, that will actually try to introduce a beaver carcass for the first time, to see how they are with that and carcass feeding on their own. So like I said, there are lots of activity. We have to be cautious that we don't let them run around too much, because they'll wear themselves out. They have an on and off switch. They don't have a way to, kind of regulate, oh, I'm tired, I need to lay down so I can eat. It's, no, I'm exhausted, I crash, I don't get up to eat. So we want to be very cautious that we're making sure that we maximize their resources. In the last few weeks, actually, the anticipated introduction into the exhibit pack is August 7th, and so we've got less than a month to get these guys ready. And ready, we mean about 30 pounds is what we're looking for, so we're doing pretty good. We're over 20 pounds right now. Just having a little bit of opportunities to feed are strongly dictated by their energy levels, and keeping them from not running around and wearing themselves out is a challenge. So over in the exhibit pack, speaking of relaxing, Aiden's doing quite well. We've done a little bit of work with Luna, and I talked about this at a webinar, the last webinar, that we're doing a little bit of work with Luna behaviorally. We're doing some things medically with some anti-inflammatories and some pain relievers, and we're doing some new massage work with her to try to help kind of make her feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more lax. Obviously, her limitations with her joints and her femur issue that she had from the time she was a pup are affected by the fact that she's so focused on these pups, and she's constantly lying down near them. She's not as mobile. She doesn't go to the back side of the enclosure anymore. She just basically camps out right in front of that pup enclosure, and that makes her, again, stiffer. So that when she's stiff, she's a little bit more ornery. So for Aiden's sake, we are trying to get Luna to feel more comfortable, and it's actually working quite well. Aiden and Luna actually have been sleeping together in the den on the hottest days. So those two come out of the den together. So that's real progress for us. That's not something that's been very comfortable for Aiden. And as you can see here, he's doing quite well. The other thing that's doing quite well here is the vegetation. I did mention, hopefully, insects. The night shift on the pup care staff. If you are coming for pup care in the next couple of weeks, definitely we have some mosquitoes that are alive and well. All the rain that we've had perfect breeding grounds for mosquitoes. But the vegetation's doing quite well. That's obviously going to be a little bit of a concern in the introduction because it's so thick that we may not be able to see everything that's going on. But in the pup introduction, we do the initial meeting in the pack holding area where the pups are right now, so that the pups feel comfortable. That's something they know. It's something that they like, and we're able to control that area of that pup, what we call that pack holding area, much better before they enter the big exhibit. So we may be a couple of hours in that pack holding area before they even come into the exhibit as part of the exhibit pack. So like I said, that's what's been going on. Bolts is, again, very relaxed. We've had a good response with him, with staff. He's very interested in the pups. I'll do a lot of whining for the pups, interacting at the fence when Luna allows it. Luna's been a little bit guarding and blocking at the fence, and so that's something that we are trying to monitor and work on. So like I said, the exhibit pack's doing quite well. Here's Bolt's getting the back scratch and enjoying it. You'll notice he's a little bit shaggier. Everybody pretty much has done their undercoat except the back end. Luna's got a little bit more too. That light coloration is undercoat still coming out. But we do see, again, Luna having a lot of resting periods. This is a curl rest that she's doing. And curl rest is typically in response to being a little bit chilled, meaning that they cover up their kind of more vulnerable underbellies to temperature. And so I think the rain and the fact that she's not seeking coverage, she's tended to stay out for the pups, and pup activity is probably affecting her a little bit in temperature there. So like I said, we keep an eye on every wolf here. I mean, wolf care is done 365 days a year, multiple times a day. Now we still have people here 24 hours a day, so we're constantly watching and constantly trying to, assess how is Luna doing. Is she, physically getting up and moving around? It's her choice, and we did bring this sand in to give her a little bit more comfortable resting spot, but it's her choice. I mean, she chooses to lie by the pups. That's where she's staying. And so to counteract that, we're doing a lot more massages. Like I said, we're giving her some anti-inflammatories and actually even a pain medication to try to help her with the joint issues from being a little bit stiff. So that's obviously going to change once those pups are in, because it's going to go from laying around to running around, and so we'll keep an eye on that. But at this point, I was successfully able to block her from the pups. She's become a little obsessed with the other wolves, but she respected my block. That meant that I was up next to the pup area. The pups were at a shared fence line, and she was able to allow me to back her off from the pups, which is a good sign. So a lot of people ask, how is Grizzer managing with the pups? And so we entered, basically we see Grizzer here. He can see the pups. He's not sharing a fence line. That's because we want to make sure that the pups are safe. And again, we could put a hardware cloth there, but we also notice that Luna, she watches so much, and from this point of view, Luna can actually see over to where Grizzer is. We don't want to be in a situation where Grizzer is perceived as having a relationship with those pups. And so the pups watch Grizzer, Grizzer watches them, but we want the bond to be with the exhibit pack, and that's where we want the focus, and the pups are doing quite well actually with that. So otherwise, Grizzer's just kind of hanging out, like say, getting extra pup food, although he's done with the formula right now. We just finished up the formula, so he wants to set roll on it. He finished up their leftovers. And now, again, we are seeing a lot of vegetation in his enclosure as well. It's to the point where the back part of the enclosure is kind of a jungle. So he gets regular visits from Tina. That's Tina, my dog, who is working with the pups. Tina also hangs out with Grizzer the same way that Oscar did when we first retired Grizzer. So that's a good thing for them to have that distraction. So like I said, Grizzer is continuing to get a diet that's different from the exhibit pack. Main diet, 3 to 5 pounds of chicken, 3 days a week, 3 pounds of beef, 3 days a week with some other nutrients, and then either a beaver or a deer leg on Saturday nights, and he's doing quite well. He does still have that undercoat, that neck scruff that we just can't seem to comb out. He just kind of keeps it. And so you see him here caching. That's one thing that we know when we're full and when Wolf has had enough, he will continue to cache. And so what's interesting, if you caught the caching that Grayback was doing in the hole earlier in this clip, it's the exact same behavior. This is a hardwired behavior, and certainly wolves are feast and famine consumers, meaning when they make a kill of something larger than themselves, they feed on it, they gorge on it, they can eat up to 20% of their body weight, and what they don't eat, they cache. And that is an inherent behavior that we see here at the center. So thanks for watching, and again, we have a webinar on July 14th, Thursday night. You can still log in if you go to our website and look for programs. It will be a live feed of the pups, and I'll try to introduce their first beaver carcass on that program. So thanks again.